Hello, fellow backtrackers. I'm Alex McClellan.
I'm Mason McClellan.
And we're the Backtrack Brothers. Today we are reviewing the 2006 film Inside Man, which was directed by Spike Lee. To give a quick summary of this film, a bank robber named Dalton Russell performs what he describes as the perfect bank robbery, while also executing intense negotiations with both the lead detective, Keith Frazier, and a professional fixer who is employed by the owner of the bank.
Dalton Russell is played by Clive Owen. Detective Keith Frazier is played by Denzel Washington. The fixer, Madeline White, is played by Jodie Foster. And Arthur Case, the bank owner, is played by Christopher Plummer.
So Mason, I know this was your first time viewing this movie. This is probably it's somewhere between 8th and 10th time viewing this. But I wanted to get your first impressions. What were your overall, just general thoughts on the movie?
This movie is so fun.
Really?
Definitely
Awesome.
the most watchable movie, or one of the most watchable movies I've seen.
Oh, good.
It's
That's awesome.
really fun. There's a lot to pick up on.
Yep.
My first heist movie. So
oh, that's great.
It's
a good intro.
Yeah, I haven't really dove into any other ones. I know there is a lot that you love.
I'm almost a little worried this is your first heist movie because from my perspective, just in general, my thoughts on this movie, I think this is one of the most underappreciated crime movies really of the last 20 years. It is a very thoughtful and smart and well-written, well-paced film. And I would really suggest it for anyone that's into crime, heist, drama, like any of that type of world, which I know a lot of people are into, you're probably gonna be into this movie.
Yes.
So now let's actually dig into a little bit more of the meat of this movie, right? How did you feel about the actual whole heist setup and how it was executed?
I thought the whole heist itself was terrifying, just being in the people's perspective, having, you're like little ants. Again, haven't seen any other heist movies, can't really compare it to anything, but they made it action-packed. There was no plot holes, which I know is very hard for these heist types of movies. But no, I thought all that was, again, entertaining to watch.
Yeah.
But pretty terrifying when you put yourself into those people's shoes.
Yeah, and so I'm coming from a little bit, this is kind of what's cool about our channel, right? Mason's younger, coming into these movies from a new angle. I have seen a decent amount of heist movies.
Yeah.
So I'm comparing it to things like Heat, I'm comparing it to things like the Ocean's series, like the Ocean's 11, 12, 13, like those. I'm thinking about the movie like The Town. So comparing it to things like that, I would say it's a little bit more lighthearted than something like Heat or The Town, but it's a little bit more serious and grainy and down to earth than something like the Ocean's 11 series.
Yeah.
In terms of what I think is so interesting, I think they do such a good job of literally in terms of blocking, setting up, literally even just setting up the barricade around the bank as things are going on, how the hostages are moved throughout the bank, how they're treated, the physicality of everything. You understand where everybody is at all times.
The snipers never leave the ruse aiming at the door. That's one example. No one can get in or get out, and that makes for a whole dynamic. Whenever somebody leaves the bank, that's either a hostage or,
It's so tense. Every time that door opens, guns pointed at each other, everyone's freaking out. I love even when, someone goes across the door, even if it's a distance, they have somebody with a shield and guns pointed at the door. So that was just a little type of detail.
Yeah.
No one even says anything about it, but it's realistic. When I watched it, I was like, oh yeah, that's probably what would happen in this situation. I think that attention to detail goes back to Spike Lee, who's the director. He does a fantastic job in terms of just details and creating atmosphere.
Yeah.
This is such a New York City movie. Did you notice that?
I've never been to New York City. So
oh my gosh, well just all the elements of talking about, they're trying to figure out the language that's being spoken at the one part. They're like, oh, it's New York City, we can find somebody, play it over the speaker. And it works. That type of stuff. Just a general attitude between the people, the racist cops. One of my favorite aspects of this film is really the top 4 heavy hitters that we named in the cast earlier. They have so many just one-on-one scenes where it's just mano-y-mano, and it's just a battle of wits and linguistics, and I love it. And that's going back to what I was saying earlier about how well written it is. You see where Russell and Madeline White meet for the first time, and she walks in thinking she has the upper hand, and things change very fast. And I just think those types of dynamics and how she reacts, think about how she walks in with a smile and that attitude, and by the time she's walking out with a scowl. These performers are so effective in not only just delivering the lines, but expressing the emotion that it needs to come across.
And even just in a writing perspective, this builds character.
So much.
And I feel like every single person in this movie goes through some sort of change from the beginning to the end.
No, except for Christopher Plummer. He's kind of a giant piece of shit in general. But he gets his comeuppance, you know, not to any details in case you haven't seen it. I think another common theme you see a lot throughout this movie is misdirection.
Yeah.
You know, where you're made to think one thing, but the truth is something entirely different. And a lot of times it's being set up by a mastermind of this whole operation.
Yeah.
Just being 1, 2, 3 steps ahead of the other people he's working against. And I always just love watching a smart, cunning villain. And let me also say this, villain, because that kind of goes into the misdirection. What did you kind of think of how all of that was handled? It just feels like you're always on your toes with this movie.
No, I thought it was great. One example of this is the whole thing about, oh, he's not gonna pull the trigger. Oh, he's not gonna shoot. And he's like, oh, hey, check out this little camera. Boom, and boom, instantly. And that is that's right after the scene where the guy goes in and he realizes the guy, nobody shoots him, and he tackles the one guy and he still doesn't get shot. So he's like, guys, these guys are not gonna hurt anybody.
Yeah, they could not be more confident.
And 5 minutes later.
Yeah, you were just mentioning the character development, and then think about how Denzel reacts. Denzel's character reacts to
instantly out of the building.
Out of control. Turns into Training Day Denzel, and I absolutely love it. He just goes wild, and that's great because we haven't seen that character act that way. It took, you know, something happening on that level to trigger that response, but that's what I love. I love seeing the evolution. These characters are changing as this negotiation's getting longer and longer, and the stakes are getting higher and higher. You can see it in the characters, and that's good performance. That's good performances.
Great.
One thing I want to bring up to you, Mason, that this, you know, a tool that this movie uses is those flash forwards to the interviews.
Yeah.
Kind of like in that desaturated light, and you're seeing the interviews with these hostages, and the first time it's just so unannounced. It's just out of nowhere. It just happens, and you're like, what's going on here? And then as you watch more of the movie, you start figuring out that these are interviews with the hostages after everything happened.
So it did confuse me at first,
right?
Because I was like, wait, how'd they get these people? You know,
right?
Yeah, it just didn't make sense. And then later they start showing more interviews, and you get more details, and it makes more sense. But in that moment I was confused.
It's very cool. You know, they just give you a little taste at first, and then it becomes more and more of the footage. And that is a huge thing for the rewatchability of this film. When you watch this movie for a second and third time, once you know what the big final reveal is, then you go back and you watch in those interrogation scenes, and you watch, you know, when they're swapping people in between the hostages and the crew members. Like, you're taking mental notes of this stuff that you weren't thinking about the first time you watched.
So one thing that I think is really effective in movies is a show, not tell.
Ooh, yeah.
There was one little scene where they went over different scenarios of what would happen if they went into the building.
I love that.
And all of that is a great way to show trailer clips, number one. Number two, it just makes it was a conversation that they could have just had without any action going on.
Exactly.
But they showed you visually different things that would happen if they did execute a certain plan and going into that building.
Yeah, I think that was brilliant. It's funny because, you know, I'm not going to get into too much details about this, but there's not a lot of gunfire really in this movie, especially for a heist movie. Like, usually, like, it's everywhere, but that's part of why I think it's so smart and cunning about this movie is it doesn't need to rely on those types of things, but they know you want some. So Spike Lee's like, here, I'll give you one. Here, this is what it is. But it actually doesn't mean anything. Fuck you. So, Mason, are you down to talk about the characters a little bit?
No.
No? All right, well, let's just move on. Beep.
Yes, Alex, I'm ready to talk about the characters.
Thank you. So we are gonna start off talking about one of my personal favorite actors, Denzel Washington. Mason, we talked a little bit beforehand, and you revealed to me this is your first Denzel
Yes,
movie.
I've looked through his whole catalog. I've not seen a single movie. Not even that he's like started, just one that he's been in. Never.
How did you feel being introduced to Denzel? What were your thoughts?
I thought he was great. Again, fit the role really well. Was able to show emotion when, you know, his mood switched. And
you got to see sexy Denzel when he's talking to his girlfriend. He's like, I got the cuffs, baby. I'll bring the gun.
the cuffs are getting cold.
Cuffs are getting cold. That was a great line. I did love that.
Speaking of which, I just want to bring this up. Sorry. The humor really stuck.
Oh, it was awesome.
I'm thinking, like, you know, for how serious this movie could be, it wasn't like a Marvel movie where it was like cheesy.
No,
yeah.
I totally agree. I think this movie handles tone very well in that regard, where they'll have a lot of heavy stuff mixed in with those lighter moments.
Yeah.
I think the perfect example for that is the Gold Digger ringtone. It was so intense.
I was like,
just twirling phones trying to figure out it. And, I ain't saying you go, digger.
I was watching this with my girlfriend. I was like laughing, but I was like, oh shit.
Yeah, it's great. It's not a pina colada. Like, that's another great line. Like, there's so many awesome, hilarious lines where it's a tense scene, but they really deliver. And that, once again, great writing, great performances, and Spike Lee being able to orchestrate and direct all of that. All right, cool. So actually, that's a good transition back into the characters, though, because Denzel, I just want to bring this up. Like, this movie is a great example of the full range of Denzel. You get, like I said, the majority of it you're getting, badass, smart, quippy, Denzel, who's running shit, but still has a chip on his shoulder. Like, he's got that whole, like, missing 140K thing, and, he's, usually there's someone else who's running it, he's just filming because that guy's out, and he's gotta get Defoe's respect, like, all that type of stuff. So, but then you get a little bit of sexy Denzel, and he's talking with his girl. You get a little bit of crazy Denzel after the hostage gets shot, and he does that freaking visual shot of him just going, like, and zooming forward. Yeah. That was my favorite shot of the movie. But his dead face is what sells it. Like, the fact that his whole body's in that movie, which I imagine that's gotta be, they're trying to capture what it would be like to have that such an extreme emotional response that you're not even aware your physical body's moving, you're just going. You know what I mean? I think that's what they were trying to envision there. I think it's just so effective. So I think this is a great introduction to Denzel. Training Day is my favorite Denzel movie. You're getting close enough to watch that. Him and Ethan off together. Oh my God. But yeah, I'm so glad. I think this is a great introduction for you for Denzel. The next character I want to talk about, Mason, is the robber himself, Russell.
Yes.
How did you feel about his character in terms of like his complexity? I know you said earlier you liked how the characters kind of developed and had personalities. How did you feel about him in particular?
So what's the actor's name again?
Clive Owen.
Okay, yeah, I thought he killed it.
Yeah.
Especially for this complex of a character where, you're feeling so different many ways.
Yeah.
But you kind of have to keep it subtle because, you've got the mysterious bad guy.
Well, not to mention the fact that he's behind a mask for 90% of the movie. You know what I mean? He's got to get those emotions and everything conveyed through a white towel and sunglasses.
Yeah, and just with your voice, like when he has a mask on, he's walking through the bank with Denzel Washington.
Right.
I was doing a secret dance to remember acting.
One negative I will bring up about this movie is that let me know if you think differently. I think that the side characters, while enjoyable for the most part, are a little underdeveloped. I'm thinking specifically, Keith Fraser's partner, who I apologize, I don't have the actor's name here, but I think his partner is fantastic. Their chemistry together, they had a TV series where it was Denzel and that guy just going and solving mysteries together, I would be totally down. Make true crime with Denzel and that guy, I'd be totally down for that. Then his girlfriend, who I actually liked her when they showed her.
Yeah.
I thought the conclusion was actually funny. He comes home and her drunk brother's sitting there with a lampshade on his head. I love that. And he's gonna get laid. What a great end to a movie, isn't it? Every movie should end is the main character's gonna get laid. The end.
And there's a drunk brother on the couch.
Yeah. I feel like his girlfriend was waiting in bed for him for like 5 days.
That is true. I didn't think about that. She was like, get ready. And that was halfway through the movie.
That was halfway through the movie, and then they showed like multiple days went by, and then he just shows up at home. I'm home, babe. It's open and stamped.
And the handcuffs are still on.
Yeah. I think the biggest offender of this lack of character development of the side characters, even though the lead characters are great, I think, for example, Willem Dafoe is criminally underused in this movie.
I think so too.
They should have made a choice with him. They made him seem like a hard ass at first, and then made him soft, and he never really came back to be a force.
Yeah.
They should have just make him a hard ass. Make him complete. You already made him racist. You might as well make him a hard ass and give him some more.
He was probably, he was in this movie before I saw it, so I was like, oh, he's in this movie. He's gonna be funny. He's gonna have some big role.
Yeah.
But he really didn't.
No, it was very quiet, very subdued. I'm just not used to that from a Dafoe performance, and it's a little disappointing. You just could have replaced him with anybody. It just kind of seemed like a waste of time for him and his talents. Well, backtrackers, we have made it. We're here. We're at the conclusion. We are going to give our final review scores. I don't really believe in it, but I do it to make Mason happy. Why don't you get us started, Mason?
Yes, so I thought, for a first heist movie, I thought this was, again, a lot of fun, action-packed, very deep, very well-written movie that basically had no plot holes, no flaws, except for a little few things like missed potential. Really, not really flaws, but more missed potential.
I agree.
I'm gonna give it a 9 out of 10.
Nice. That's a good score.
I feel like as I watch more heist movies, this might go up or down.
Yeah,
but
I think it'll go up.
Yes,
that's my personal opinion. I think you're gonna watch some other heist movies and be like, oh, okay, that's how it could go wrong. Inside Man got it right. I'm so excited. I'm so glad you like this movie because that means you're gonna love Heat. You're gonna love all these other movies that I'm really excited to show you.
I'm excited to watch more Denzel Washington movies.
Hell
It's definitely a good introduction.
Oh, dude, Man on Fire, Training Day. There's tons. There's so he's super prolific. But yeah, maybe we could do like once I get you to watch enough of them, we can do like a top Denzel movie list. That would be fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's a great score, Mason. I really do. I personally, I'm gonna be giving it a 9.2 out of 10, slightly higher. I think you nailed it. Really, the falling action I think could have landed a little bit more coherently and a little bit more smooth. But the plot points come together. I think it could have been a little bit of an easier transition to get to the end of the movie.
Yeah.
And then I also think they could have expanded a little bit on some of the supporting characters, maybe fleshed it out a little bit. That being said, I do like the pacing of this movie. I think it's a very crisp 2 hours.
Yeah.
I think it's a very fun, thoughtful, well-written, as you said, heist movie. Of its kind, it's up there, man. I'm personally a huge Den of Thieves fan. Like, it's up there with that movie. That's one you can watch tonight. Den of Thieves on Netflix. Oh, dude, we got our dog used to fireworks that way. There's so much gunfire in that movie. Our puppy was 9 weeks old, and we just had her. She was sleeping while we were watching Den of Thieves at full blast. So like, now she's not afraid of anything. It's fantastic.
All right, so guys, take your dog to a shooting range. Over fireworks.
Dog training tip: watch Den of Thieves with them when they're puppies. Just something I'm gonna toss out there.
I'm an expert.
Thanks for checking out this video, fellow backtrackers.
Like, subscribe, ring the bell, doing that.
Yeah, if you got a video or a movie you want us to cover, just let us know in the comments.
Follow Instagram, Facebook, and all of our socials.
Or don't. I don't really give a shit.